Hi, I'm Luke Boserman, the blogger behind the Weekly Holler. If there's one critter from the American South that frequently makes the news, it's the alligator. In fact, an orange alligator from South Carolina found its way into the national spotlight last week. Looking back through history, it's easy to see that these prehistoric reptiles have been capturing the human imagination for centuries. Here's an engraving by Theodore de Bry made in 1591, depicting Native Americans killing an alligator. If you sift through all the folklore surrounding gators in the southern United States, there is one character who emerges as the most notorious reptile of them all, a giant named Two-Toed Tom, sometimes called Triple T. There are many legends about Two-Toed Tom, and while they differ on the details, there are several things on which they all agree. He was a massive, red-eyed gator with only 2 toes on his left forefoot. The rest had been cut off by a steel trap. It's hard to say when stories about Two-Toed Tom began, but the first one ever written down comes from Carl Carmer, who included a story about Tom in his book, The Stars Fell on Alabama, back in 1934. In it, Carmer tells the story of Pap Haynes, a man who bought 40 acres of land bordering a swamp from a lumber company. Neighbors warned Haynes not to keep livestock because Two-Toed Tom was rumored to haunt those 40 acres. Haynes decided to buy livestock anyways. He figured if a gator caused any problems, he could kill it. It wasn't long before a cow went missing. The gator had attacked her at the drinking pond. 2 nights later, Two-Toed Tom crept into the farmyard and took her calf out of the cow pen. After that, it was a mule. Pap Haynes found it half-eaten by the pond. In the mud beside it were the distinctive tracks of Two-Toed Tom. Pap Haynes had rented his shed out to several boarders who were men that were working on road construction in that part of the state. One of the men had a high-powered rifle and experience hunting alligators. Pap offered him free board and $25 if he could kill Two-Toed Tom. The man tracked Tom to a pond on the Haynes property. He climbed in a tree and waited for the gator to appear. He did this every day for a week, but gave up when he heard that Tom had killed 2 calves at a neighboring farm. A few months passed. Then, when the March rains flooded the ponds, Pap discovered another of his mules dead in the water. Two-Toed Tom's tracks left the area, heading to another nearby pond. Pap wasted no time. He hitched up his last mule to the buggy and rode to town and bought a box of dynamite. When he returned, he packed 15 buckets full of dynamite and lit them 3 at a time and threw them into the pond. After blasting the pond to smithereens, Pap was satisfied that no creature could be living in the water. He started back for the house, and he was almost there when he heard a scream coming from the first pond where he had discovered the remains of the mule. Pap ran to the water's edge in time to see a pair of red eyes sinking out of sight. In the shallows, he discovered the corpse of his 12-year-old granddaughter. She had heard the dynamite explosions and had come down from the house to investigate. After that, Two-Toed Tom left Pap Haynes alone. But that isn't the last story about the gator. In fact, it seems that he moved further south, crossing the Alabama line into Esto, Florida. Esto resident E.W. Carswell was alive at the time and remembers Tom's arrival.
He had created so much havoc in Alabama that the people up there formed a posse to chase him out, according to the legend. And they chased him across the state line, of all places, right at the edge of Esto. And at that time, the street was a wide street, but it was all of dirt. And there were some hitching racks along the sides of the street. And this alligator apparently came across the state line right. He came right down Esto's main street, walking right down the street. And he walked the length of the street, and on the southern side, right near where today's Baptist church is located, he turned left out through a cotton patch and went about a half mile over to the lake. And apparently that was when he came to stay a while. He got in so much trouble up there and got accused of a lot of things that he may or may not have been guilty of. He was accused of killing mules and young calves and cattle and hogs and eating dogs for dessert after he'd eaten up some of those other animals, and accused of attacking people and assaulting women and things of that sort. And well, he was just a rascal.
Two-toed Tom took up residence in a pond near Esto, and people said that you could often hear him bellow in response to the Alabama-Florida Lumber Company's steam whistle at their mill. Many speculated that the gator had fallen in love with the whistle. I hope you enjoyed this story. For more stories like it, sign up for our email newsletter at theweeklyholler.com. You can also find The Weekly Holler on Facebook and YouTube.